Yes, hello everyone. Welcome back to another weekend review show here on Cluiche with me, Seamus Brady, your host. I'm joined for this one again by Liam White, making a second appearance on the show from the Limerick Boys. Liam, thanks so much. We were supposed to do the show yesterday, guys, but I was extremely busy. But Liam has kindly agreed to jump on the Monday instead. Liam, how's the weekend been? Did you enjoy the hurling? We had a feast of action, really, and plenty to talk about.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again. Really appreciate it. Yeah, no, really enjoyed it. Got to enjoy the chaos of what yesterday's games were. Was able to go to the Gator grounds on Saturday to watch the Limerick Galway game. So yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. Having no off games this weekend gave me a chance to watch other counties and see what they're up to. So no, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. And we're gonna dive in. We have a couple of football games and we have a ton of hurling games, as well as obviously a roundup from the lower divisions. And then of course we have lots of action from Camogie and some action from the Division 4 of the LGFA as well. So plenty to get through in this episode. If you're new here, guys, the ticker along the bottom there will tell you how we do things here. Throw in your comments on what was your highlight from the weekend, and we will respond to all. But we are going to dive in, of course, with the Allianz Hurling League, starting off with Division 1A. And in my opinion, we have to talk about this game first. Clare, 23 points, the reigning All-Ireland champions, but Cork, 6-20 at Cusack Park in Ennis. And especially when the fifth and sixth goal went in, Liam, for this one, it was really a case of what the hell is going on? It seemed at one stage like Cork could have hit 7-8 goals. It genuinely, I've never seen the Clare defence look that open.
I was watching the game with my friend from Cork. He was watching the second half, and when I got to 6 goals, he says, "No, I want more." He wanted ruthlessness. He didn't want it to
Yeah.
end at all. But I couldn't believe what I was watching. You wouldn't think that this was the All Ireland final last year, considering how neck and neck these two teams were. But I mean, look, Clare's form in the league this year, bar the Limerick game, has not been good. We've known that. Last week game was their best performance by far, and they needed another performance this week. Even if they didn't get a result, they needed a performance, and they just got none of it from right from the off. Cork were on it. Shane Barrett, who I referenced last week on Matthew Hurley's podcast on the Gaelic Assessment, he's been a player I've loved watching over the last 12, 15, 18 months. He's so direct, he's quick, he's strong, his accuracy is unbelievable. And he started with a house on fire. Declan Dalton, I mean, we know how good he is. And it's outrageous to think that at the moment Cork's options at half forward line are Decky Dalton, Diarmuid Healy, Ethan Toomey can play there. Conor Lahan still has to come back. Shane Barrett could even run out there if he had to. Shane Carney
As well.
Robbie O'Flynn, I'm sure held Patrick Horgan. Why not throw him there? It's ridiculous. But no, Cork were outstanding, and for as good as David Quilligan was last week, the sixth goal. Look, he's lucky that it was a game where the game was won already, so he doesn't have to worry about it too much. But yeah, it was not a good day for him in comparison to last week, where he pulled off some outstanding saves. But no, Cork, a lot of players impressed for them. I thought Tommy O'Connell had a very good game as well in the back line. Thought he was solid. They had a foothold. They had a hold on Tony Kelly, very much a hold on Tony Kelly. Ian McCarthy wasn't at his usual best either. So yeah, no, I mean Brian Hayes getting a hat trick. I mean he's a terrific forward, especially goal for goal. Like I can still remember the goal he got in the Ireland semi-final last year against Limerick. From a very tricky angle as well. He's a brilliant forward. But yeah, no, very damaging defeat for Clare. I know people say it's only the league, but when you factor in that these two teams have to play each other in the very first round of the Munster Championship as well, it really just does not bode well for them at all.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. And damaging is a good word. I know that it's a league game and I know that it's very, very important to not get carried away in the moments and, think that things are going to be won in the midsummer. I was going to say September, but midsummer, to think that things are going to be won down the line just because of a result in the league. But the one thing that this result is undeniably is it is embarrassing. It's an embarrassing result, especially at your home venue, for Cork to come in and score 6 goals and honestly look like they could have scored more. And you had Brendan Bugler before the game saying we're going all out for this one. There's no excuse of it was an undercooked Clare team or they weren't taking it serious. They wanted to win that game, and it was shocking how quickly Cork had the game put to bed. And then in the second half, all of a sudden, it was just the last 15 minutes were played at an exhibition pace or something. It was really, really fascinating to watch how the game just evolved into that. For Cork, though, on the other hand, in the league, they've looked fantastic. I know that they did slip up, obviously, against Tipperary, losing that game. But apart from that, I mean, if I was a Cork fan, I would be very, very excited heading into the rest of the season, because you look at this, right? Cork, obviously, since 2005, they haven't won the All-Ireland. They've just put 620 past Clare, the current All-Ireland champions. Yes, it is the league. It's not meaning they're going to win the All-Ireland, but you can't deny, if you're a Cork fan now, you're pretty excited about the year ahead.
Yeah, and like you said, embarrassing. That's exactly what it is. And like you said, they can't use the excuse of they didn't have this player out, they didn't have that player out. If you have a team that has Aidan McCarthy out there, that Adam Hogan, Conor Lean, Eibhear Quilligan, Tony Kelly, they had a strong, strong team out there. O'Neill, who I was impressed with against Limerick, like taken off early. And like you said, the last 15, 20 minutes were played at exhibition's pace. I believe there was a point in the game where you could have doubled Clare's tally and it still wouldn't have been beaten Cork. And especially when you consider how good Tipperary have been in the league. I know people we're going to nearly be mentioning it every week until the championship, but the Liam Cahill syndrome, they might be like, oh, they might not turn up in championship. I think this is a very different Tipperary to what we've seen over the last couple of years. They've got youth about them. They saw it. Obviously, we'll come on to it in the Kilkenny Tip game, but you saw it evidence in their game that they're hungry this year. Waterford, although it is a Division 1B, they put 734 past Westmeath. They've been promoted to Division 1A. They'll want to prove a point after the last number of years. So for Clare, especially going up against Cork and Limerick in the last week, their main rivals for the All-Ireland this year, realistically, to be shipping 620 at home and realistically with the game, in a way, people would have said the game was nearly done at half time, conceding 3 goals in the opening half. Like I'm a fan of Adam Hogan, but he was just non-existent in this game. Conor Lean was poor in this game. Like the whole back line just was exposed. It was open way too easily. Cork were nearly strolling past them at some stages. So yeah, this will be a worrying sign for Brian Lohan. Whatever about the relegation, whatever about like losing the game, the performance itself, when you're leading up to championship and you've got some tough games coming up and you're the hunted this year. It's not you're the hunting, you're the hunted. It's gonna make for a tough few training sessions, I can say that much.
Yeah, certainly. And then, going into the Munster Championship, everybody's going to be wanting to take that scalp off the All-Ireland champions. But just on the flip side, while, yes, it's an embarrassing defeat for Clare, just what I was referencing there just before was that if you were a Cork fan, by God, you'd be excited about the year ahead.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Like I was even saying it last night. If you were to say to me right now, like an early prediction, All-Ireland final, and even possibly Munster and All-Ireland final, Cork and Limerick, 100%. I don't think there's any other 2 teams in the country, not even, Kilkenny from Leinster or Galway or Tip could maybe pose some bit of a challenge maybe in Munster or potentially even the All-Ireland. But after that, like I don't see anyone beating Limerick, and the only other team I can see beating Limerick is Cork, because they've proven that they can over the last 2 years. Well, last season they bet them twice, drew with them in the league. So yeah, for me, it's setting up nicely for Cork. It's setting up nicely for them to potentially win the league. First title since '98. They haven't won Munster since 2018. Setting up nicely for them at the moment. And ending the 20-year duck, I would say it's probably 50-50 between them and Limerick at the moment.
Yeah, and I do think as well, like when you look at Limerick and Cork, the one thing that I felt last year is like Cork are just right now, they're a good stylistic matchup for Limerick in terms of the pace that they have in their forward line, and they can match them physically around some key areas of the pitch. And that's why I felt like even though Cork beat Limerick last season, like Clare were like a different stylistic matchup, like that type of thing. And like the phrase "of styles make fights" in the UFC, I think is applicable to hurling in that sense. We have a comment in here from Sean O'Malley. Good to have you back, Sean. He says, Clare All-Ireland hangover. Out of the 3 teams that got through Munster last year, I can only see Clare getting caught, especially after losing Shane O'Donnell. Personally, I would agree. I think if any of the 3 teams that got out of Munster are going to get caught right now in this moment, I think you have to say that it's Clare. But right now, I would say that I'm torn between, is it going to be the same 3 or can Tip push themselves in there? I still think Waterford have a bit to go, unfortunately, because I've always liked Waterford. we have to give big shout outs, of course, before we move off this game to some of the big scorers. Shane Barrett with 1-4, Brian Hayes with 3 goals and a point, Declan Dalton with 2-6. Like, outrageous score tallies being put up there by the Rebel forwards. And they get another win. And currently, as we said, they're sitting in second in the league on 7 points behind Tipperary, obviously due to that defeat that they had to Tip in Semple Stadium. Tip are top with 8 points. Galway and Limerick then on 6 and 5 respectively. Kilkenny on 4 with Wexford and Clare both tied on 2, looking like they could face the drop. Absolutely unbelievable stuff. We're going to move on to the next game then in Division 1. And Kilkenny and Tipperary is that next game. Kilkenny 119, Tipperary 225. This one took place at Nolan Park. Tipperary, get out with a relatively comfortable win on the score sheet, but that's not the thing that everybody's talking about out of this game. 4 red cards. I mean, genuinely, I was watching the game live. I watched the highlights on TG Car. I struggle to see red cards in most of the instances. What do you think?
No, I completely agree. For me, Alan Tynan's was a joke. That should not have been a red card at all. Like, even Jamie Wall this morning, and I had a great time, Jamie referenced it, saying, like, is it going to take someone to get, like, what if he was hit? Is it going to take for someone to get absolutely bolted by a shoulder to the mouth or something, or to the face guard for changes to come in? But for me, you can say that, but he didn't touch him. It doesn't matter about in the future. It's about now. What happened? He didn't touch Keane Kenny. If he'd have given a yellow, maybe. But for me, red card, absolutely not. No chance in hell. Jordan Malloy's, again, very harsh. Very, very harsh. He was trying. Now, I understand he kicked his helmet, but he was trying to hook him. There was no foul intention there or anything like that. So, again, I can't say I'm the biggest fan of that. Mikey Carey's being a straight red, I think, again, it could have. I was expecting a second yellow for retaliating against Darren McCarthy. Look, Darren McCarthy committed the foul. Mike Carey, turned back and basically launched a hurt at him. But again, I was expecting a second yellow, not a straight red. Especially after getting a yellow card a few minutes earlier over the David Blanchfield one. Blanchfield's one is the only one where
Blanchfield, I was going to say Blanchfield is the only one that I was like, yeah, he deserved to go for that one.
100%. No, that was a red card. And again, I like David Blanchfield as a player. I think he should be Kilkenny's number 6. I would probably put Carey out wing back and Blanchfield centre back, but it was a red card. He retaliated in the complete wrong way. And yeah, Kilkenny's big problem again was that worryingly they played better with 12 than they actually did with 15. And especially coming up the championship. And again, are they too heavily reliant on TJ Reid? I know he didn't score from play, but he was winning balls that were going into him when he was had 3-4 lads on him when they were down to 12. He was still winning fouls. They were still looking for him the whole time. I'd be a small bit worried for Kilkenny from that perspective. That they're TJ Reid for me is arguably the best player of all time. He's still going at 37. He's terrific. He's in great shape, but they can't keep relying on him.
I agree, and I think TJ is the shining example of how when people compare the Kilkenny team of the late 2000s with the Limerick team of the early 2020s and everything, and which team would win. I think TJ is an example of how the standard is actually a lot closer than we would think. About everybody saying how the game's evolved. Well, TJ was one of the best players 10 years ago, and he's still doing the business for Kilkenny now, even when the game has evolved to the level that it has. And is a shining example of how that Kilkenny team would fare now. Sean O'Malley comes in here with a very good point. I think it's time we really question Kilkenny. In fairness to Derek Ling, it would always be a tough act to follow Cody, but 3 men getting sent off wouldn't happen under his reign, under Brian Cody's reign. I remember Kilkenny used to bring in a lad in the league, and if he got sent off, you'd rarely see him again. And we're talking now 3 red cards. Yes, 2 of them, especially the Jordan Malloy one and the Michael Carey one, very harsh in terms of a straight red. Definitely not a straight red on the Carey one anyway. And yeah, I just genuinely just across the board when I was watching the stats, I was just genuinely thinking what's with all the red cards? We've 7 red cards were brandished across the weekend, and genuinely watching the games. Yes, the Cooney tackle on Mike Casey was bad, and he deserved to go for that, but it didn't jump out as being particularly dirty. And the thing is this tends to be a bit of a common trend with referees at this time of the year for both sports, by the way. Like in football, we saw famously David Goff sending off 4 Tyrone players against Kerry, or was it against Armagh? But anyway, sent off 4 Tyrone players in the one go for a bit of a scuffle with multiple players involved. It tends to be at this time of the year that you always get a headline about referees being a bit over the top with red cards. And I think obviously there must be a bit of a method to the madness. They're trying to lay down the law. But I was watching just thinking, I feel like you need to relax a bit. I don't think it's as bad as 4 red cards. Like Derek Lynn came out and said afterwards, like he didn't see a red card in that game. Yeah, I think for this time of year, okay, maybe they're trying to lay down the rules, but by God, I hope this doesn't follow into the championship.
Yeah, no, because we don't like in a way the referees in a way can't win because if they let the game flow, then you might get more situations like we did the weekend, or potentially um it becomes a stop-start match, and the referee's blowing every 10 seconds for the smallest of things, and then it becomes just a circus, really, to be honest with you, because then everyone's getting frustrated, the crowd's getting frustrated, people are going to lose interest in the game. And I certainly hope we don't see this because I'm thoroughly looking forward to this year's championship. Like, and I think the Munster Championship is going to be exciting. The Kilkenny or the we might as well call it the Kilkenny Championship over the last number of years. The Leinster Championship will be a bit more competitive in a way, with the teams feeling like they're a lot closer now, and especially with the way Kilkenny are playing at the moment. You certainly wouldn't be saying they're the Kilkenny of old, anyways. But I hope this doesn't really go into the summer because it would kind of ruin a lot of games for a lot of spectators, especially with the money that they're paying to watch matches. You want to watch a good game, a free flowing game to a degree. But yeah, I'm the same as you. I'd hoping that they're not trying to obviously lay down the law, but not too much to be ruining potentially good games.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And like genuinely, you saw at the end there with Derek Ling shaking hands with Liam Cahill, like you could tell that I think the two of them were probably saying to each other, geez, that was a load of bollocks. Like you could tell that
100%.
the two of them were probably saying to each other there was very little in those red cards. And like I feel like even if you'd gone to Liam Cahill and said, do you think that's a red card? I think Liam Cahill would have been like, no. Because I feel like
Yeah.
if you're a hurling man, you don't want to see someone sent off for something that isn't a red card. And I mean, like, obviously, maybe in an all-Ireland final, you'll take whatever advantage you can get. But in a league game like that, you want to be tested and you want to have, good preparation for the championship. And Tipperary got a very impressive win in Nolan Park, but it does have the asterisks of Kilkenny got 3 really harsh red cards. The Blanchfield one probably deserved to go, but the other 2 definitely very harsh. And it takes the gloss off it a little bit, which it shouldn't, because Tipperary's have been unbelievable in the league, especially coming from where they came from last season, where they were really in the mud, especially after the Cork game. And they've done really, really well. I've been really impressed with them so far, especially just a word on this. What do you make of Tipperary's young talent? Obviously, as an Offaly man, you saw it up close and, right there with the Offaly under-20s and minors. But we've just seen now Oisin O'Donoghue, beautiful goal. Darragh McCarthy is getting a lot of game time under his belt. What are you making of the Tip talent kind of coming through and being front and centre now?
I think we'll have our work cut out for us to win the under 20 again this year. If Tipperary gets out of Munster, which is very realistic. No, very impressed with them. I like the way they hurl, and I like the way they've been integrated into the team. And Liam Cahill has a lot of trust in them, which is good. He's getting them playing these tough games, especially playing against the very top teams. And in fairness to them, they're delivering. Darren McCarthy, I mean, he has a special way of taking frees, but to his credit, it works. But he's also very good off the ball as well. He's got good movement off the ball. He's good at winning the ball back. He's very accurate even from play shooting as well. Oisin O'Donoghue is a workhorse, great striker of the ball as well. That was a cracking goal that he got, a superb goal. Craig Morgan, even someone like Brian O'Mara, who I believe he was UL Fitzgibbon captain in 2022. Like he's a player who I rate very, very highly. Now he's playing a cornerback at the moment. I thought he could have been maybe Tipperary centre back for the next couple of years, but obviously Ronan Maher, to his credit, he's captain and he's doing a fantastic job there. But I mean, Brian O'Mara is slotting in a cornerback, fierce well. So Sam O'Farrell as well, I have to take great credit as well. I thought he had a very, very good game as well. And I mean, I know he's not as young as him, but John McGrath is still, pulling the strings at full forward as well. In particular, just the type of forward that you love that can just, be going to the left and then just swing backwards to the right and just tap it over the bar from a crazy angle. You know, that's the type of forward that you just love that bit of experience as well. So yeah, no, I think Liam Cahill's got them in a very good place at the moment. And yeah, they seem to be going along very nicely. There's no like real big injury concerns at the moment. You're hoping that it does stay that way because you want to watch these players as well, especially when it comes up, and see what they can do in the Munster Championship as well. And yeah, no, I'm very impressed with all those young lads. I mean, look, McCarthy's a big name. Everyone's going to be talking about him for the summer and for the next while, which is understandable. But Ocean O'Donoghue, Samuel Farrell, these types of players, don't be ruling them out yet for potentially being big what's the word, just like I can't think of the word, but you know what I mean. Yeah, stars, yeah, we'll go with that. So I blanked for a second, sorry.
No worries. Sure. Long day. We have a couple of good comments in here. Jack Nulty will start with his. Says Kilkenny were okay last year, but concerned this year so far. But we see more in the championship. That said, underage and bringing players through is the bigger concern for Kilkenny. I would absolutely agree with that, Jack. I think looking at the fact that while he is one of the greats, and as you said there, Liam, arguably the greatest of all time, TJ Reid, in my opinion, he deserves that title for his longevity. The fact that they're still turning to him in games where he's still the free taker. He's still the guy winning a lot of ball in the forward line. Like he's amazing. But the point is you kind of need to allow him to do a little bit less so that you can get more out of him. You look at the way that Dublin in the football, for example, I know that that's my go-to example, but I've watched the Dub so many times. But you look at the way that like Michael Fitzsimons, for example, could have the career that he had and stay into his mid-30s because Dublin weren't relying on him to play every minute of every game. They could manage out his season and manage out when they wanted to bring him back, and he wouldn't have to cover every blade of grass because we had the lads behind him who'd come up in the years after, like Owen Merchant, like Sean McMahon and players like that. So Kilkenny need that guy to take the mantle off TJ in terms of the free taking and everything. And I think they've a fair few good options. It just depends on the form of the likes of Owen Cody, Mossy Cowan, and the like. But TJ definitely will still have a big part to play. Sean O'Malley here says, Tip have impressed during the league, but could they gas out in the Munster Championship like Derry, Waterford and Mayo in the past, given they are so ridiculously close? I would agree. I think that is going to be a conversation that we're going to have in April, no matter what. I think somebody's going to bomb in the championship that did really, really well in the league. And then the topic is going to be right back up again about the GA calendar and the fixtures. And like, mark my words, we're going to be talking about the calendar in April. We're going to be talking about the broadcasting rights in June because there's going to be a big championship game that won't get shown. And we're going to be talking about the finals being too early in July. And then we're going to be talking about, club congestion in September. Pitches getting abandoned in November. Like the GA seems to follow a similar pattern of what we talk about every year. So I look forward to it once again. We'll move on to the final game of Division 1A, and it's Limerick 127, Galway 18 points. I thought this one would be a little bit closer than it was. This one kind of rings a little bit similar to the Tipperary Galway game at the very beginning of the league when you were kind of concerned for Galway. So Galway have had a real mixed bag. I don't know what to make of them at all. I don't know whether they're one of the dark horses for the All-Ireland, dare I say, whether they can, take the Leinster Championship off Kilkenny. Again, I don't know. Or are they going to fall flat on their face just like they did last season? It's really, really hard to tell. They've shown glimpses of what they're capable of in both extremes. They've been brilliant in games and they've been shite in some games. Where do you kind of see them?
Well, I think last week I said, Limerick might just pull away in this game, but then for some reason, when I got to the Gaelic grounds, there's something in me just said, no, you know what, Limerick will actually be fine tonight. There won't be a bother on them. And literally, when you even look at the tallies from play, Limerick got 123, Galway scored 8 points of their 18 from play.
Crazy.
Like if you're wanting to be one of the best teams in the country, or even just in your own province, then scoring 8 points from play over 70 minutes, and especially against arguably the best team in the country, is going to get you absolutely nowhere. I think interesting, you even said it, I can't remember which episode it was, could have been a few weeks ago, but you said, how much can Galway change in a month? I think it was after the Clare game you said it. And I kind of thought, you know what, that's actually a good point, because yes, they beat Kilkenny, which I didn't expect, and they put in a very good performance against Clare, to their credit. But you don't just go from the performance against Tipperary and then become the best team in the world overnight. You know, there was going to be another performance in there, or there was going to be another sort of results in there for Galway. And I mean, they weren't for a while. They seemed convincing against Wexford, but then they switched off, and all of a sudden it was a 2 point game. You know, like they're not the finished article at the moment. They're certainly not the team that Micheál Donoghue inherited in 2015, 16, 17 when he was looking to win the All Ireland, eventually got there and then won Leinster titles, etc. I think Galway, for everyone saying that it'll be a Kilkenny Galway Leinster final, I mean, Dublin, I mean, you knocked Galway out last year. Wexford bet Galway last year in the championships. You know, there's absolutely no reason to suggest that Galway could potentially finish fourth again in Leinster. You know, they can Galway are the type of team that can absolutely win Leinster, potentially win an All Ireland, but then they can also fall flat on their face, finish fourth in Leinster, you know, and be out of the championship come early or like late May, early June. So, especially after watching them on Saturday night now, they were well off the pace. They were allowing Limerick to dictate the play. Limerick were moving the ball so much better. John Kiley, I was able to interview him after the game. He said it himself that there was such an improvement from his side in terms of movement. Left a few shots behind them, but still very good shooting on the night. Just like there was so much space afforded to the likes of Colin Coughlin, to the likes of Kyle Hayes, to the likes of Shane O'Brien tore them to shreds. Aidan O'Connor tore them to shreds. You know, they were hungry on the night. You know, there was a type of hunger there that I maybe haven't seen in a way all season from Limerick. They said, right, this is the start now. This is where we're going to start proving our points. And they've got Gerard Hegarty back as well. Who came on the other night? Peter Casey came on, got a great reception, scored within literally, I think, 30 seconds, you know, maybe a minute. And like when you're bringing players like that off the bench and you see what the players that are already on the pitch are doing, it's quite frightening. And again, we'll keep saying it. It is only league, but judging by that last night, I can't see Galway changing this around too much in a couple of months' time. I feel like if Limerick were to meet Galway in a semi-final or final, then I think you just got to start putting the green and white ribbons on the Lee McCarthy.
Yeah, no, they're definitely going to be front and centre for the All Ireland again. Like they're not going anywhere. Sean says as well, a lot of teams look good until they play Limerick because of their sheer physicality. Cork can match that because of their pace. I do think like it is again, it's the type of thing that you only realise just how strong they are, how good they are until you're on the pitch there with them. And I do think Cork, yes, good stylistic matchup for them last season. But how many times did Cork lose to Limerick over the last 2 years before eventually they put together the team that could beat them? They got absolutely torn apart in the All-Ireland final of 2021. They weren't that close to them in 2022 in the Munster Championship. They were close to them in 2023 in the Munster Championship. They took a massive step closer to them in 23. And then by 24, they'd worked up a team that could beat Limerick. And they did. But Limerick are still, you know, unbelievable. And like the way that they went out was the way the champions should go out. They went down swinging. And like it really took Cork to be at an unbelievable level to beat them. You look at their team this year, they still have obviously the spine with, you know, Sean Finn at the back, Kyle Hayes, Barry Nash, Will O'Donoghue back there at midfield, Keane Lynch, Tom Morrissey, as you mentioned, Hegarty, Gillan looks in good nick as well. But the new dimensions of the team. Talk to me about the new dimensions in this Limerick team from your perspective. Obviously, Shane Dowling in goal or Jason Gillan in goal. What do you make of that compared to Nicky Quaid? But then also, and potentially more important, the impact that players like Adam English and Aidan O'Connor and I think Shane O'Brien could be a huge difference maker this season. His goal, very well taken. Just the size of the guy. Like he's adding a completely different perspective to that Limerick forward line. The impact of the new breed in this Limerick team.
And like Seamus Flanagan's done so much for Limerick hurling over the last number of years, but I have a feeling that he could be spending his season potentially on the bench, you know, with the way Shane O'Brien is at the moment. Like I remember kind of not knowing much about him until I saw him last year playing an under-20 game against Waterford. And like, look, I think it was a dead rubber anyway, but he was able to show in that game what he's all about. And my God, he showed what he was all about, you know, so much so that came to the Munster final, he was thrown in and he did a stellar job, did a very good job against Clare. You know, he certainly didn't look out of place in there. And then you see him for Kilmallock last season. Again, had a very, very good club championship for them. He's been thrown in this season, and if it's given as well from Mary I, he scored some savage goals in that as well. So, yeah, no, he's I reckon he's someone who will be taking Seamus Flanagan's place at full forward this season. I reckon it will be himself, Gillan, and possibly Peter Casey. I think he might just edge out. O'Connor in the current forward position. But again, don't be surprised if he edges out Casey as well, just given that he's been fit a bit longer than Casey has at the moment. Potentially even for the first 2-3 championship games, he might squeeze him out of the team for the moment. I've been praising Adam English a lot over the last number of months, and I mean he's turning up every week. He does the simple stuff. He's good at find, like he was the one who played the ball into Aaron Gillan, which found its way to Shane O'Brien. You know, instead of trying to take a shot that could have potentially placed wide at the last minute, you know, he was very cute and very smart. He's very accurate with his passes. You know, intercepted the first point of the game. I think he had a goal chance very early on as well, I believe, or was that was the that was this week. Yeah. So I'm trying to think, was that last week or there was a goal chance last week? I think it was Shane O'Brien against Clare, and Adam English had it this week. So yeah, like no, I'm a big fan of his. He's a really really good player. Barry Murphy at cornerback as well has been very
Yeah.
very solid. You know, he's man of the match. I believe was against Tipperary. He was man of the match. And again, there really wasn't a sniff out of the Galway full forward line. Really, you know, I was very very impressed with him and Sean Finn and Casey at the back is frightening. Like you may as well be thrown into a wrestling ring with Brock Lesnar and Stone Cold and Dwayne John The Rock. You know, like there's just you're not getting past them. Like it's nearly impossible. You know,
Mm.
and yeah, like I mean they still have Declan Hannon to come back as well. So do you reckon like do you stick him back at centre back? Do you leave him on the bench for Kyle Hayes to play there? Do you bring Kyle Hayes back out to wing back because he's been brilliant in that position over the last some years? I don't know because Colin Coughlin's doing really well at the moment. He's such pace about him. He's great tenacity. He's very versatile. I was watching him closely enough on Saturday night as well, and he was bombing up and down, up and down. He was like watching Andy Robertson for Liverpool over the last time. He just wouldn't stop running, you know. So no, the new young breed in Limerick, and yeah, on the goalkeepers as well. I mean, Shane Downing had a very good game, pulled off a brilliant save from Brian Concannon in the second half as well. I still think Nicky Quinn's the best goalkeeper in Limerick, but you certainly wouldn't think that Limerick are in a crisis with a goalkeeper when you have Downing playing as good as he is at the moment, and Jason Gallan. I do like him as well. He's a very good long poke on him as well. You know, he scored two outstanding points last week against Clare from free. So yeah, at the moment their young guns are performing, and that's what they need. They don't need to be winning All Irelands every year or to be competing for All Irelands every year, even at under 20. They just need to be bringing along 2-3 good solid players that they can push some of the older lads forward and yeah, get that bit of consistency they need in terms of trying to win more Munster and All Ireland championships.
Yeah, certainly. I think as long as they can just keep it ticking along, like they're going to be in it every year, to be honest, over the next while for the foreseeable future anyway, because I think themselves and Cork can't change their mind. They're the two most stacked in terms of talent that they have and in terms of cover for different positions, etc. I think it's honestly between the two of them for the whole year. I really think Clare are going to have a bit of an All-Ireland hangover. I think Dublin have a long way to go. Waterford have a long way to go. I still think the likes of Offaly, Antrim are still building up towards it. Tip, while they've been very impressive, I still wouldn't quite jump the gun and say they're going to go head to head with those two for an All-Ireland. Galway, I've no idea where they're at. And Kilkenny, I think, again, Kilkenny are just those few players short of being able to actually turn over Limerick. They might be able to beat Cork because I think they might be an okay stylistic matchup for them and just the physical power that Kilkenny have. But I don't think they'd be able to beat Limerick, given how good that they were against Limerick a couple of years ago, and it still wasn't good enough. I don't think they're as good as the Kilkenny team that Cody had in his last season with the Cats. I think that Kilkenny team was better and still didn't get the job done. So I think right now, obviously things can change, but right now I'd be thinking Limerick and Cork are the front runners. In Division 1B then, the Dubs got a big win here against Carlow, 229 to Carlow's 317 for Parnell Park, and we both win in this instance, Liam. Obviously, this result was fantastic news for Offaly. Offaly going up now with Waterford up to Division 1A. The Dubs will have another season in Division 1B. But you know what? It's not the worst thing in the world. We do genuinely want to get up to 1A as quick as possible. But a good win over a very, very good Carlow team in Parnell Park. Running up the scores as well. Ronan Hayes with 1-4. Donald Burke, 9 points. David Purcell, with 1-1. 6 points from midfield between Conor Burke and Conor Donoghue, of course. It's a good performance by Dublin. Carlow are always going to be tricky, and to get the win, I'll take that any day of the week.
Thanks very much for the win. Thanks very much. Yeah, look, we might come straight back down, but we'll enjoy it for the year while we're up there. But yeah, no, Dublin, look, they needed a win badly. They wouldn't have wanted to get 3 defeats on the bounce, especially when you look at the last 2 games you had against both us and Waterford. You would certainly been looking back going, how did we lose those games? Because you had them, like, certainly against us anyways, you were a much better side than us. And even against Waterford, I'd say Waterford were coming out that game going, Jesus, we got a bit fortunate there. But I feel like for even both our counties, if you'd have said at the start of the season, who's the one county Division 1B who would be so desperate to go up to Division 1A, it would have been Waterford. I
Yeah.
feel like in a way we would have been content with staying. I feel like a lot of Offaly fans at the start of the year were saying, stay up first. Don't get relegated back to Division 2A. Stay up in 1B, and then we build from there. I feel like a lot of people probably didn't expect what we've done. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people, I would have been content with 1B for another year, and I feel like Dublin would have been as well. They would have loved to go up there, but it's not the worst thing in the world, And like you said, if you just say, for example, Clare and Wexford come down next year, you still get 2 solid games in Division 1B anyway. So, and like you said, you'll be going to Carlow next year. That'll be a tough. Dr. Cullen Park, a very tough place to go to. So, yeah, no, I think, and I think you'll be going to Corrigan Park next year, so you'll still be getting some good games in Division 1B next year. And yeah, no, I mean, Donald Burke is a player that should be playing in Division 1A. He's exceptional. He's had a very, very good league campaign. You swear he doesn't have a hangover from winning the All Ireland with the Phoenix. You swear he wasn't in a club championship. Up until late January. But yeah, no, Conor Donoghue, like I said, played very, very well. Danny Sutcliffe is back as well, which is a massive boost for you as well. Does he come straight back into the team? Does Sean Curry come straight into the championship team once he plays on the Up of the Day, or potentially even Brendan Kenny? Do you think, or was that team that you played on Saturday near enough your probably strongest 50? I know AJ Murphy needs to come back possibly as well.
For me, AJ's in. For me, I'd start AJ. I think, to run through it very briefly, my favourite team with Dublin right now is probably Eddie Gibbons, John Bellew. I know Owen O'Donnell isn't around. He would be fullback, just as a side note. But David Lucy and Conor McHugh, I'm happy enough with. Chris Crummy at 6, I'm happy with that. Kevin Burke and Dara Gray, I think it's a solid half-back line. Conor Burke and Conor Donoghue in midfield, I'd be happy out with that. I'd probably put Rian McBride in when he's around. Right half forward, I think he's a fabulous hurler. Donald Burke and Brian Hayes, that rounds off a good half forward line. And then I would probably go AJ, Sean Curry, and Sutcliffe inside. I think Sutcliffe, if we can get him more of a target man this season, I think he could be really, really good. And then you've got players that are kind of flair players like Damon O'Dooling, Ronan Hayes. Like Ronan Hayes is very difficult to predict, to be honest. I've seen him at times looking like prime Seamus Callanan, and then I've also seen games where he's genuinely done nothing. So it's all about consistency for Hayes. Like genuinely, his performance against Nafina, I don't know if you remember that a couple of years ago in the Dublin hurling final. That was one of the best performances I've seen in a club final from a player. He just literally grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck by himself and dragged Kilmacud to a Dublin title. It was unbelievable. I couldn't wait to see him. And to be fair, I don't think we've played to his strengths a lot. I think sometimes we've hit him the worst ball I've seen and kind of hope that he could just do something with it. I do think if we're playing a target man, it's worth playing around with the idea of, putting John Heatherton in there as well. Like the sheer size of the guy, like he can definitely make something work for Dublin. But against Offaly, obviously, I feel like once he's in there, we kind of hit everything to him and other players kind of get left out of the play. So it's definitely how you use him, but he should be included as well, in my opinion. Sean says as well here, he says Offaly to play Kilkenny/Galway in the Leinster final. So he thinks Offaly will be there regardless of who joins them. We wouldn't rule them out for sure, but will either of these have a say? Obviously, Antrim had a good win, 422 to Laois's 21 points in Corrigan Park. Some lovely goals. Keelan Malloy, James McNaughton, they're the ones that kind of stood out to me. Connor Johnston got a lovely one as well. Laois just weren't able to really keep up with Antrim in this game. Every time it felt like Laois were taking a few steps back, Antrim would just hit them another knockout blow with a goal. And eventually going down the home stretch, you knew that the game was done and that Antrim had got the win. For Antrim, it's been a bit of a rocky league for Davy Fitz. What have you made of them and how much would you take from this win?
I suppose they've done the opposite yesterday of what they've done all season. as in they were the ones this time who killed the game off by half time, made it a non-contest really in the second half. And that's the sort of Antrim that we've become accustomed to over the last number of years, especially in Cork Park, a really difficult ground to go to, not a ground that is for the faint-hearted really. So like you have to be fighting tooth to the nail to get a result up there. And any result you do get up there is a bonus, And look, they've had a rocky start to the season. They obviously had that reported was a stomach bug during the week. They seemed to shake it off fairly quickly anyway. They seemed to have no problem with it anyways yesterday. But yeah, no, James McNaughton's a player that I like the look of. He's very direct. He's great movement on his feet. He's jiggling from left to right like 2 or 3 times, confusing a defender. Very powerful strike as well. 2 very, very well taken goals. I believe he got 2-11 in the game. So he's like in terms of trying to replace someone like Neil McManus, he's not doing too bad of a job at the moment. He's certainly going to be someone that they'll be looking to find every single time because he's that type of player that can just produce a moment out of nothing. I thought Jared Walsh and Conor Ball had very good showings for Antrim as well. I thought they looked very, very positive in there. Connor Johnson's goal was very well worked. Owen Campbell worked it fiercely as well to get it into him as well before he blasted it past the goalkeeper. The last goal, it was just way too simple. Way too simple. It's just like Keenan Malloy was just simply walking past the Laois defence to slot it into the back of the net. And yeah, I felt Laois just had no answer at all. And I can't imagine. Look, they had a tough start to the season, obviously, with the former Antrim manager, what's his name, Gleeson, not being able to take on the role. Unfortunately for him, I hope he's going well in his progress in his recovery. But I can't imagine they'll be too happy with their league so far. They were 2 points up against us at half time. They ended up losing by 9 points. They were going okay against Waterford, lost by 10 points in the end, and Waterford probably were maybe in second gear. They beat Westmeath, and now this, and they still have Carlow and yourselves to play. And I'll be honest, I don't see them getting a result in either one of those games. I have a feeling that it's going to be Laois joining Westmeath to go back down to Division 2A, which, when you put it into perspective, Laois were a goal and a point away from Leinster hurling this year, last June, against us. Like, they hit probably 20 wides or something against us, and they could easily have won that game, And now they're staring down the barrel of Division 2A. It's just amazing what can happen in a number of months when certain things don't go right for you, and then there seems to be a bit of a cycle. Whereas for us, like, we got up to the Joe McDonough, and now we're going up to Division 1A. And in a way, there's probably not too much between us, but it's just amazing what confidence can do for a team. And at the moment, this Laois team just looks like it's lacking in it. Like, even Aidan Corby, who I think is a very solid player, you can always be reliable. He was hooked off before half time. He just was not able for it at all. Aaron Dunphy was doing his best to keep Laois in it and keep the score somewhat respectable. But yeah, for Laois, it's looking like it's going to be a tough end to the league. I still fancy them to get to the Joe McDonough final. I still believe it'll be a Laois Carlow final. I still think they're the 2 best sides in the Joe McDonough. But in terms of winning it, I can only see Carlow at the moment being the Joe McDonough winners this year.
Carlow definitely look way more competitive, in my opinion, when it comes to games against the Dubs and against Waterford. Like, Carlow beat Waterford. Like, they're definitely front runners for the John McDonough this season. But Waterford, it seems like, took all the frustration of losing that game against Carlow and used it to beat the shit out of Westmeath. This goddamn Westmeath 24 points, Waterford 734. This should have been a Dr. Stoppage TKO step in at halftime type situation, because like Charlie Treen 2-3, Stephen Bennett 10 points, Desi Hutchinson 1-4, Patrick Curran 1-2, Kevin Mahoney 1-6. Like, just a shocking defeat for Westmeath. Under any circumstances, you think you're obviously not good enough to compete at this level, which is unfortunate now, because there was a time when Westmeath definitely were. Like, we saw them beat Wexford and draw with them the year before. Like, they were super competitive in Leinster, especially when they were under Joe Fortune. But this result is just a really, really bad day at the office for Westmeath, which is a nice way to put it.
Like, what do we even say to an inter-county team at halftime when they're losing 421 to 11 points? Like, I could not believe it. Like, when I saw the scoreline, I thought there was a glitch. I couldn't. Well, I knew Waterford. I expected Waterford to maybe be winning and maybe somewhat comfortably, but that was I couldn't believe what I was looking at. And then you see the full time score, and you're just like, all right, we get it. You lost to Carlo, but no need to be this ruthless. Like, there's no need for it. But yeah, no, it's unfortunate for Westmeath. Like you said, they're not even like a bad team. They actually have some. I still claim that they have a lot of good players in their squad,
They do.
but just yeah, they're just not able. It just seems like they're not able for this level as we speak. Even the Joe McDonagh last year, they struggled big time. Like they bet Leash on the last day, but Leash were already, I believe, in the final, and they put out basically a second team. It didn't really take much for them to beat them. They drew against Down. They lost to us. They lost at home to Kerry, which I think was very damaging for them. And you see how Kerry's season has gone now. They're not even going to get out of Division 2A. They've lost to Donegal. They've lost at home to Down. They've had a tough season. So for Westmeath, it's very unfortunate. It's Division 2A next season. And I mean, you're only going to get better if you're playing the absolute best teams across the country. But at the same time, it's going to be a small bit demoralizing for the players and management, and really probably most effectively the supporters, because they're not going to want to pay money to come in and see games like this.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, for me, it's unfortunate for Westmeath. You want as many Leinster, especially from our perspective, you'd want as many Leinster teams as possible. Going well, playing nice styles of hurling, and being somewhat competitive because we want a good Leinster championship. But yeah, no, it's a very, very bad day for them. And to be honest, I don't even know what you'd say to your players after that. But for Waterford, I mean, yeah, they're essentially through to the Division 1B final. They're essentially going up to Division 1A next season. They'll probably win the Division 1B final. It is a small bit of a dead rubber in a way. We're both going up, so I suppose just if you can win it, great. But if not, then it's not the end of the world. But for me, yeah, they're looking sharp. They got Austin Gleeson back as well on the pitch after 666 days. So yeah, no, it's things are looking a bit more positive for them at the moment. I know you're going to say, how do you remember that? It's only because it was 3 6s. I could remember that. Other than that, I would not have remembered it at all.
Unfortunate series numbers to announce your return. Yeah, but Gleeson back, obviously that's a big boost to Waterford as well. And they're moving well. I still think that they have a long way to go before they can be on the level of Limerick and Cork, I would say right now, but they are moving in the right direction. Sean says here, how would any of the Leinster counties fare in Munster? It looks pretty bleak. Yeah, I think right now, I do think that you have to say the three best teams in the country, even though that they're on a bad, defeat there yesterday. Sorry, Clare still are in the top three. I think with Cork and Limerick, I think they're the top three teams in the country right now. I think you could make a case that Kilkenny would get out of Munster because just they do have that know-how and they know how to get over the line in big games and everything like that. And they have beaten Cork and Clare in All-Ireland semi-finals in the last few seasons and really, really put it up to Limerick. Apart from that, I don't really see any. I've thanked my lucky stars and whatever religion is out there that Dublin have been kept away from Limerick in the hurling championship over the last few years, because just seeing how our league match went against them, yeah, I'm happy we haven't crossed past them in the championship. The standard in Munster hurling right now is just absolutely sensational. Looking at the other games in the Alliance Hurling League roundup, Division 2, we had Kerry 123, down 28 points, so a big win on the road there for Down. Kildare hammered Tyrone 234 to 8 points, big win there for the Lily Whites. Derry 127, Meath 123, that rounds out Division 2A. Division 3, we had Antrim 118, Mayo 321, London 220, Sligo 18 points, and then Roscommon 119, Cavan 19 points. So wins there in Division 3 for Mayo, for London, and for Roscommon. And finally, Division 4, we had Fermanagh 21 points, Leitrim 116, Monaghan 20 points, Lancashire 420, and Louth 22 points, Longford 28. So wins in the basement division for Fermanagh, Lancashire, and for Louth. Moving then to the Alliance Football League, we only had 2 games on. Obviously, these games had been originally for other weeks, but they had to come back. This is a big blow to Clare's promotion hopes, especially with Offaly right there in the mix with themselves and Kildare. Sligo beating them in Markovich Park 119 to 214. Finally, Sligo wake up in Division 3, to be honest, because they've had a really, really flat start. It's a big win for Sligo for sure.
Yeah, especially with the way they threw the game against Fermanagh last week. You know, like I saw they were 19 points to 14 up, and then all of a sudden I saw full time 19 all, and I thought, how have they done that? You know, it
Yeah.
just kind of epitomizes Sligo season. You know, like I expected them coming into the season to be dark horses to potentially go up to Division 3 or to Division 2,
No,
promote from Division 3.
Matthew picked him to go up to Division Two, and like
Yeah,
when he made the case to me, I remember being kind of
you're changing
bit,
your mind.
yeah, a bit regretting that I hadn't put them in second, because he was talking about Culera getting to, the winning the Connacht Championship. You've got the success under 20 level. You've got the fact that they pushed down all the way in the Tailteann Cup semi-final.
Probably should have won it.
Yeah, probably should have beaten them. And then on top of that, the success that they've had at the schools levels and everything, like it's just always pointing in the up, and it's just been a bit of a dud so far this year for them.
Absolutely, but they finally woke up at the weekend, and thankfully, from my own perspective, they woke up because if Clare had won, we'd have been on a situation where Kildare, us, and Clare at the moment would all be on 8 points, and that's just not what we need, especially when we Kildare at home this weekend. Look, Kildare lost to Clare. You absolutely never know. Hopefully we'll be able to bring a big crowd to O'Connor Park on Sunday to support the boys, because they do deserve our support this season, you know. But yeah, this would be, after beating Kildare last week for Clare, and especially with the way they were playing this season, to lose to Sligo will be a tough pill to swallow, you know. And yeah, no, they're still within a great chance of going up. You know, I've absolutely no doubt about that, especially with the fact that they play us on the final day and at home as well. But yeah, I feel like if they really, really wanted to go up to Division 2, then they had to win this game 100%, or even get a draw of some kind. But yeah, no, Sligo, to be fair to them, they held on. You know, I'd say it was a nervy end to the game, especially for their supporters. But yeah, no, I still think, like, you compare, say, if Sligo go down with Leitrim going down, and it's just not even comparable between the two sides, you know. Like,
Yeah.
Leitrim have had an awful season, and arguably, I know they're Division 3, but they're arguably probably the worst team in the country at the moment, and there's no disrespect to them, it's just the way they played this season, you know. And I do feel sorry for them, but it's just the way that's been. Whereas with Sligo, especially after the way they should have beaten Galway last year in the Connacht Championship, I can't sit here and say they're one of the worst teams in the country, because they're not. You know,
Yeah.
like they actually didn't play too bad against us. They didn't perform too badly against Kildare. They should have beaten Fermanagh and not have beaten Clare. It was only really the Laois game where just everything just seemed to go wrong for them, you know. But like, they're still a solid team. And look, if they can end the championship well, then all well and good. And if they could potentially stay up, but yeah, no, they finally woke up. But I feel like a lot of people would be like, it's a small bit too late now if things don't go our way in the next couple of games.
Yeah, I agree. I think, look, they have a couple of big games. They've got obviously Leitrim still to play. You'd imagine they'll win that one. But I mean, Leitrim, if there's one team that could wake Leitrim up, it's Sligo. And then on top of that, they still have to play Antrim. So the good thing is for Sligo is it's all in their hands. Like, it's all in their hands whether they stay up or whether they go down. It's all right there for them. This result is bad news for Antrim, because it means that now their game against Sligo takes on the whole other meaning. Whoever loses that is down, basically, unless Antrim can pull out a big result in their next game. Of course, we have the other direction of the table is impacted by this. Now, Offaly and Kildare, promotion is entirely in their own hands. If they win their last two games, they're up no matter what happens behind them. Laois and Clare need results to fall for them. Fermanagh are on 5 points. It's looking like it's a little bit too much to ask for them to make it as well. Moving then down to a team that it was confirmed promoted over the weekend. Wexford 20 points, Wicklow 12 points. This was in Wexford Park. Wexford sit on top of the division, 5 wins out of 5. I actually believe they are the only team, just double checking, only team over 4 divisions to have a perfect record after 5 games. John Hegarty has done a fantastic job, because Wexford over the last 5 years were just the absolute embodiment of inconsistency. They would usually beat the teams that get promoted and lose to the teams that were bottom of the table. You never knew what you were getting from them. But since Hegarty's come in, there's been a lot more consistency about them, and they've just been the business in Division 4 this season. They've looked too good for the division from the get-go, and now they are officially promoted.
Yeah, and as soon as they bet Limerick away from home, I said they're going up. You know, that was in my opinion, that was probably their toughest game, and they came away with it with a very good win. Scoring 17 points as well, which is very impressive going to a very tough ground like Nick Neville in Rathkeale. Yeah, no, Wexford were clearly the best side in Division 4 this year. There's no question about that. And listen, we felt that Wicklow might be a good test for them because Wicklow still have promotional hunts of their own. But for me, home advantage, Wexford have been good at home this season. I didn't have any worries that they'd win this game, especially the form that they've been showing, and especially with the motivation that they would have had to get back up to Division 3 as well. And yeah, 100% record is fantastic for them, especially with the likes of Dara Brooks as well, Shane Petit getting 2 pointers as well. They're good, very, very good players, and they deserve to be playing Division 3 football. So yeah, he's done a fantastic job since taking them over. And yeah, I hope we don't play them next year because I hope we're in Division 2. But if we are, we've had some great games over the last number of years, so it'd be another tasty test between the two of us. We've knocked them out of the Tailteann Cup. They've knocked us out of the Tailteann Cup. So if we want to make it a tiebreaker next season, make it best 2 out of 3, then so be it. But yeah, no, congrats to them. Fair play to them. Showing a bit more consistency than the hurlers this year, which is a good sign for them. But yeah, no, fair play to them. They deserve to come up, and I still feel like Limerick will join them. I think Limerick are the best side aside from Waterford in Division 4. But yeah, it'll make. I still think Wicklow might just need maybe another year, maybe 2 years. They're going in the right direction. That's a good thing, though.
Yeah, no, that's it. And like last couple of years, it was very, very hard to tell whether they were coming or going. But we mentioned about TJ still doing the business. I think we have to give a shout to Ben Brosnan as well. His longevity is absolutely sensational. Still looking sharp as ever there in the Wexford forward line. Sticking with Gaelic football, we're going to wrap up as well. I'm going to run through the LGFA results which took place over the weekend. We had round 7 in Division 4, which runs quicker than the rest of the LGFA divisions, but one game in Division 3, which was Carlow 1-3, Limerick 2-9, so a big win there for the Treaty. Then Division 4 is round 7, Derry 2-6, Antrim 4-14, Sligo 2-11, Leitrim 1-11, Fermanagh 4-23, Kilkenny 2 points, big win there for Fermanagh, and Wicklow 2-11, Longford 1-5. Fermanagh stick out there as being far too good for that division. They won the junior championship last season. Players like Emer Smith, Blahin Bogue, Brenda Bannon, like there's no way that they're not getting promoted. Let's be frank and honest. And then moving on as well, then to the very camogie leagues, Division 1A's round 3. We want to run through the 3 games which happened at the top of the division, starting with the repeat of last season's league final. Galway 1-13 and the same result. Tipperary 2-14 in Kilbecanty. Tipperary go away to the tribeswomen and come out with a very, very impressive victory.
Bit of revenge, maybe not at the time of year they wanted, but good sweet revenge for them after last year's, like, let's be honest, heartbreaking semi-final defeat. I was even came up on my Twitter the other day, the celebrations at the end that Galway had, and you could just see the devastation on the Tipperary players' faces. Like, they knew that was a missed opportunity to get to the final. But in fairness, it's a very good win to have over Galway. It could be the first of many times they play each other this year as well. And yeah, no, it's a great win for them. Grace O'Brien got 110. Clodagh McIntyre had a major impact in the game as well. So yeah, Dennis Kelly would be delighted with the win, especially playing against a very, very good Galway side as well. And like, you'd be tipping these two teams to be potentially the closest to Cork this year. Not that I think Cork are just better than the two of them, to be honest with you. So I don't think they'll have any issue in that perspective. But in terms of teams actually challenging them and potentially stopping them, if not this year, maybe next year, you're looking at these two teams and they put on a very, very good show, and to be fair to them. So yeah, a great game between the two of them. Hopefully it's not the last we see of them this year.
Yeah, I do think there's a good chance that they meet down the line. I think you look at Cork, especially Cork, we'll get to Cork's win over Kilkenny in a second, the big win over the Cats in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. Like, the reality is, out of the 4 champions last season, if you were to say which one is going to retain the title in a heartbeat, I'd say Cork Camogie. They look imperious and they look really like they're going to be hard to stop. It's just a question of then who's the front runners, and Tip definitely have put themselves as one of the front runners to do that. Like, the form of some of their key players there, like Grace O'Brien, for example, 110 that she hit. Like, I know that there's frees in there, but still, that's a ridiculous tally to be putting up. You look at players like Mairead Evison, they have at 6, who's one of the best, like, markers in the country, one of the best defenders, like individual one-on-one defenders in the country. I'd be very interested to see where they deploy Karen Kennedy when she returns into the starting team. I think she's one of the best players in the country. If they can get her flying at the form that she is. I've heard that Caught Devan is taking the year out or retired. That's a massive blow if she is. If Dennis Kelly can twist her arm and get her involved, I don't know what the circumstances is around her to take it away. Obviously, don't know behind the scenes stuff, but I think that they're good enough to catch Cork on the hop. If they can get them in a semi-final or a quarter-final, and it's a rural ground, I really think that could be the stumbling block or the potential banana skin for Cork, because we saw in the semi-final in 23 against Galway, like just how much Cork had to battle to get over the line in that one. And I do think that could be a potential way to beat this Cork team. But Tip looked good. For Galway, on the other hand, you're looking at their team, obviously fell short in last year's final, but they still have some brilliant forwards there. The likes of Carrie Dolan, again, hitting 3 points. Niamh Mallon at full forward, hitting 2, even though she's from down. And I hate the fact that players are starting to move between different counties. But again, everyone has their reasons. But I do think Galway will be, again, challengers to Cork this season. But I don't think anybody's stopping them. More evidence for this is just how comfortably they beat Kilkenny there at Páirc Uí Chaoimh, 317 to 13 points. Like, we're talking about champions here that look like they're just going nowhere. You look at, again, through their forward line, Orla Cahalan 1-5, Saoirse McCarthy 2-2, Circa McCartan a full forward from 4. Another player from down. Down must be sick. Kay Wall with 2 points. And then around midfield, the return of players like Ashton Thompson, Hannah Looney is there at 5. Like, they look the business.
Yeah, I'm the same as you. I'm not too much of a fan of this too much moving around. It feels like a transfer market in a way,
Because do you know why? Do you know why I'm a little bit snapping? Because I know that if Dublin got a player, everybody would lose their shit. If Dublin got another boy in from a different county, I mean, it kind of happened with Ryan O'Dwyer, to be fair, in 2011.
Get Shane Walsh in from Galway, and that would really...
people were losing their mind when he moved to a Dublin club. Could you imagine?
I think that'd be peak cinema, to be honest with you. I think it would be absolutely brilliant. Bring the best 2-pointer in the country in.
What? We just whack on a 24/7 live stream with Joe Brawley, Buff Egan, and just strap in for some solid entertainment.
Absolutely. But Cork are the best team in the country. There's no doubt about that. Kilkenny, tough. Extremely tough. They're going through a transitional period, but I would be fierce worried for them. They've no points on the board so far, and the season's looking very, very bleak for them.
It certainly is. I mean, you look at them there, 3 games, 3 defeats. Dublin have a point, so they're above them, but I think they're screaming out as being the two that are, looking the other way, looking potentially over their shoulder. Yeah, it's just not the place that you'd want to be, especially from a team that was right up there competing for All Ireland's over the last few seasons. The final game then in Division 1A, before we round up the rest of the games, was Dublin 12 points, Waterford 316. This one took place in Parnell Park. Not the best day for the Dubs. Obviously, Waterford very, very comfortable winners in this one. Abby Flynn with 2 points. Beth Carton, of course, former player of the year with 6. Niamh Rockett hitting a goal and 5. Lorraine Bray, of course, at centre-back, scoring a goal as well. Comfortable enough win for Waterford in this one, especially away in Parnell Park. As I was saying there, the big players, Beth Carton, Mairead O'Brien, Lorraine Bray, Niamh Rockett with 1-5. Just the Dubs outgunned on this one.
And it hurts because I said Dublin would win this game. I legit thought Dublin were going to have Waterford's number, and then I saw the score. I saw this scoreline with 10 minutes ago, and I thought that was not the best thing I've ever said. Look, very good win for Waterford. I'd be delighted with the performance. Scoring 316 away to Dublin is fantastic, to say the least. For Dublin, a small bit of concern. I mean, especially when, again, you're looking at contenders to take on Cork, and the way they lost the semi-final last year, thinking can they bridge that gap a small bit this year, and it just doesn't look like it at the moment, unfortunately for them. Now, look, again, the same statement. It is only the league, so maybe this is a learning curve that they need. But at the same time, conceding 316 at home is never a great sign either. And yeah, for me, it'll make Leinster. The two Leinster teams, Kilkenny and Dublin, at the moment, you can't exactly sit, a bit like the men, you can't sit there at the moment exactly and say the team that's going to take Cork's championship is a Leinster team. You're looking at Munster, mostly Tipperary, Waterford, maybe not yet, but they'd be more likely at the moment than Kilkenny and Dublin, and then Galway and Connacht. But poor result for Dublin. They certainly won't be happy after this.
Yeah, no, it won't be, and I think Yeah, wouldn't be putting much money on anybody stopping Cork, to be honest. Having looked at every week, Cork just seem to be going from strength to strength. And then rounding up the rest of the results from Division 2A, Carlow 2-8, Kerry 15 points. Big win there for Kerry. Offaly 16 points, Meath 110. So another win there for your county. Derry 3-7, Armagh 6 points. And then move into Division 3A, Laois 3-9, Tyrone 2-8, Louth 1-2, Kildare 8-10. Crazy scoreline. Roscommon 4-10, Wicklow 1-10. So victories there across the board for Kerry, for Offaly, for Derry, and then in Division 3A for Laois, for Kildare, and for Roscommon, respectively. So that brings to an end another weekend review show here on Cluiche with me, Seamus Brady, who hosted it, and I was joined once again by Liam White from the Limerick Voice. Be sure to check him out on all his socials there. Liam, thanks for jumping on for another episode. Thanks as well, guys, to Sean O'Malley and Jack Nolte, who threw the comments in, helped make this episode what it was. That's this week's episode. We'll be back, and I promise this time we'll be back on Sunday this time. It's just an exception of a week, but we'll be back on Sunday at 8 p.m. at our usual time. That's another episode done. Thank you so much for watching. Until the next one, Torara, take care.